Hey, this is Jen Johans at filmintuition.com and Film Intuition on social media and Letterboxd. And this is Watch with Jen. I am back with my friend Lina Chern, who is a wonderful writer, Mary Higgins award-winning writer. And she writes these great mysteries that kind of have a little bit of an element of almost magical realism. They have some psychics or tarot, some stuff going on. So I always love her work. They're fun and quirky. The characters are colorful. I highly recommend you seek them out. Lina, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me and for that wonderful introduction.
Of course. So what are you working on? Anything exciting? Something in that same realm?
Yeah, a little bit of a departure. I think my next novel that I'm working on right now is going to be a more of a speculative direction. The series I have been writing was about a tarot card reader who kind of pretends to be psychic. This one might actually have to do with people who can see the future for real. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but I'm excited to find out.
I'm glad you're announcing that because our last episode, which I love doing with you, was on like psychics and, predestination and all of that, tarot and stuff in the movies. And we talked about all of these different movies. And one of them was Minority Report. So I'm really excited to see your interest in that develop. That's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we were talking off air. This was originally going to be a group episode. And, this happens. You crash land on an island. Sometimes everybody doesn't make it onto the island. Things happen. We love our friends and wish them well. It's just one of those things where stuff came up. And so they landed on other islands. And it's just Lina and I for the summer hanging out talking about movies. So I think this will be
great.
fun. Yeah. I was trying to think, because I live in Phoenix and it is, like living on the sun. So it's already 110 degrees and monsoon season starts officially on Monday through September. And we were told we were getting a super monsoon. So I'm like, oh man. So I was dreading summer a little bit and I thought, let's do some summer episodes. Yeah. So thank you for going with me on this island adventure.
Absolutely. And it was very interesting when you first proposed this theme. I didn't realize how broad this topic could be. We started brainstorming some of these ideas, and it's really interesting how many ways this theme can kind of present itself. So I'm excited to talk about some of these movies we have planned.
Yes, I know you always think about like Gilligan's Island and those kind of, you're like, how many movies are set on an island? I just did an episode on Spielberg recently and Jurassic Park is an island, all of these things. You can even say the island of Manhattan if you want to, but then you're opening yourself up to everything. As far as island shows go, I need to give a shout out do you watch Widow's Bay?
Oh, I do.
Yay! I just started it like 2 days ago and I'm already halfway through. Isn't that amazing?
It is a really amazing show. And what I love about it is just that crazy tonal tightrope they walk between horror and comedy. It's not something you see all that often, and they just do it so well. It seems like it would be a very, very difficult balance to maintain.
Yes, and it's such a great role for Matthew Rhys. He was just on that show with Claire Danes on Netflix, the serial killer one. I wasn't kind of mixed on it. It was a little overdone. But you see him in something like this, and within the first episode, for those who are unaware, it's called Widow's Bay. It's on Apple TV Plus, and it's set on an island like by Massachusetts, and or I think they're part of it. And weird stuff keeps happening on this island. There are rumors that maybe, there were cannibals, people have died, strange things happening. Is it haunted? And he is the new mayor and he's doing everything in his power to like dispute this. Like, it's fine. And so it's just funny to see him like put on really, I think we got to work on our logic, guys. Like to see Matthew Rhys play against the craziness, I think is a hilarious switch. Yeah.
It is really funny, and one thing I'm enjoying is the horror elements on this show are they're almost like too tropey. They really
They
feed into
do,
this
right?
sort of
Like
like,
there was a Shining shout out kind of.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's wonderful. It's sort of like it's just the side of tongue in cheek, just
Yeah.
enough to make it really kind of fun. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
It doesn't go like so gory or so scary that it's gonna only be for the diehard horror people. Like, yeah.
Hmm.
Katie Dippold, who's one of the writers, wrote like the newer Ghostbusters, the one that was controversial and stuff.
Oh,
But, she's in these elements and, yeah, it's very funny. I think very creative. So I'm glad you're watching that. That was another island thing. And then as far as island movies go, I had just seen around this time our friend, Priscilla Page was obsessive about the movie Send Help. And she's like, everybody needs to see this movie. And she said it's the one, that meme of sickos where they're staring out the window and they're all happy. She's like, that's the movie. And, it's a battle of the sexes on an island with Rachel McAdams, who I love. And she's like the nerdy, goody two shoes overlooked one in the office, supposed to get a promotion. It goes to like, just kind of a frat boy or a bro, if you will. He gets the promotion. And then, they get in a plane and there's a crash landing. It is devastating to see how they treat Rachel in the beginning of that movie. Oh my God.
yes, yes. That's what an amazing movie that was. I will freely admit that I had to watch parts of it through my fingers.
Me
And
too. Yeah.
judging from the reactions of my family who was watching it at the same time, I think I probably made the right decision. It was a really tough watch, but then that's kind of what you expect, I guess, from the director.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it goes a little way too far into the gore territory at times, but I think it's really creative. It was, of course, Sam Raimi, Evil Dead. Sam Raimi, he also, though, directed one of my favorites that is serious, A Simple Plan, which I think is,
Oh,
a brilliant movie. But he's good at this. This is sort of like Wes Craven, but a little, I guess, using the sickos meme, essentially.
yeah.
But it's kind of in that sort of territory. It's written by Damian Shannon and Mark Swift. Like I said, it's Rachel McAdams. It is Dylan O'Brien. I thought this was really fun. And yeah, some of the moments I had to like look away myself in my house. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't take Priscilla's advice immediately and rush to the theater because that would have been just overwhelming.
Yeah, too much liquid coming at you at 30 miles an hour.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I really, really enjoyed this movie too. I'm a sucker for any movie that can give you that kind of sensory thrill, but also be really thoughtful.
yeah,
It was an absolute gore fest, but a really, really interesting one. It has some really interesting things to say about power and kind of how it expresses itself, and sort of there's a lot of talk about um, the kind of the monster inside you and the circumstances that kind of bring out
yeah.
these pieces in people. It's just a really, really interesting movie. I was surprised by it very pleasantly.
I liked some of the left-hand turns. We won't like do any spoilers, but there are at least two very startling, just out of left field turns that I did not see coming at all. You write mysteries, so you're probably a little savvier than some average viewers too, but I did like how they sort of, just kind of shocked you a little bit. Did you see some of that coming?
I did a little bit. Again, I don't want to get too detailed, but I feel like there was sort of this pattern that kept emerging between the two characters where they would sort of settle into this kind of
Yes.
uneasy peace, and then one of them would always somehow disturb it. And so every time that happened, I was like, it's fake, it's not real, something else is coming, until finally there was nothing else coming. And then I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're done. subverting our expectations. But it was just fun all the way through to kind of try to guess where that left turn was going to come from.
Yeah, it's like a darkly comedic, almost sort of the War of the Roses or Mr. and Mrs. Smith kind of. There's a new one with Jason Segel that I have not, I think Samara Weaving, that I haven't seen called like Over Your Dead Body, but it's like a couple that's trying to kill each other. These characters are not a couple, they are coworkers. But I also like how aware it is about, like living in the now. Not only is this a post Me Too and, the power dynamics and kind of the Trump bro and that whole era, but also she's like the biggest fan of Survivor at the beginning. She lives in her apartment and watches Survivor with her bird and,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of dorky, and we see that she created an audition to be on Survivor. But man, did that pay off. You would want to be with a Survivor obsessive if you crash land on an island, Lena.
Oh,
Maybe
absolutely.
not
I
her
mean,
though.
well, yeah. Although I will say like the sushi that she was at some point laying out that was like
Yeah.
perfectly arranged and had like decorative flowers in it. It was like that was really satisfying to see. A bit unrealistic, but I was willing to suspend my disbelief just because it was so satisfying to see her succeed over these
Yes.
guys and all the forces against her. It was great.
Yes. Yeah, there's a spark, she comes to life. She is in her element. Whereas, she's kind of, I almost think they were using a filter and overcast on her in the office. And I
Yeah.
think everybody has felt like kind of an outsider, or do my coworkers like me? Or if you invite yourself to like a social thing, do they want you there or not? So like, it's
Yeah.
painful a little bit. And they're actually
It
more than a
is.
little. Yeah, at the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah. It's just so funny that this environment that we're talking about this island environment that can so often be this environment of danger and survival is kind of her blossoming territory. This is where she kind of comes into her own. It's just
Yeah.
really fun to see.
Yeah, I mean, she's carrying water and chopping wood, the old meditative thing, and that's what she's doing. She's doing more than that, though, as we learn. It is a Sam Raimi picture. But yeah, I thought this one was fun. I know
Yeah.
we enjoy some comedies and all kinds of movies, but we also like some darker stuff as well. So one I did not rewatch. I love Scorsese. I don't remember being a huge fan, but I love the actors involved, so I need to give it another look, is Shutter Island. And I know that is one of your faves, so I didn't know if you had some thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I love that movie. I can watch it endlessly. I'm a sucker for any movie that, again, without giving too much away, has a bit of a sixth sense kind of dynamic to it, where
Hmm. I
once you
remember that.
watch it, yeah, once you watch it, you end up going back in your mind and kind of reevaluating everything that you've seen. I just really, really love that device.
Yeah.
And
Was that based on a Lahane? I can't remember.
yes, and it's so funny. I saw him speak a couple of years ago at a conference, and he was talking to, he's considered one of our masters of crime
Oh,
fiction.
yeah.
And he was talking about how when he talks to people who aren't necessarily in the crime fiction community, he starts naming, they ask him the question, so have you written anything I would read? That kind of thing. And the only thing they've ever heard of is Shutter Island, because of course that was the Scorsese movie that was made from his work. So I
Yeah.
thought that was really kind of funny. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
The
it's
cast is just incredible. We should give a shout out. We've got Leonardo DiCaprio, Mark Ruffalo, Ben Kingsley, Michelle Williams, Emily Mortimer, Patricia Clarkson, Max von Sydow. I had to think about that. I saw Ben Kingsley in something recently, and I have friends that are like writing their memoirs, and having worked in a bookstore, we get so many celebrity memoirs, and most of them are like ghostwritten. And I thought the one I would love to ghostwrite or work on would be Kingsley, because he just has played everybody at this point. He's been Gandhi. He was in Sexy Beast. He was an Iranian resident in like House of Sand and Fog. He's kind of done it all. He was in Schindler's List. I would just love to hear his stories. Yeah.
he's such a fascinating actor. He's one of those actors for me that even though he does have kind of a distinctive look, I sometimes he's he's so different in all of his roles that
Yes.
I sometimes have trouble physically recognizing him when I see him.
That's what it is, I think. Like everyone talks about Chameleon. It's kind of like saying Hitchcockian where people just throw it around. But that is Ben Kingsley. And I love this entire cast. I remember also the cinematography was breathtaking. The costuming was so great. It's, yeah. Yeah. Do you remember, did you see it in the theater?
I did not see it in the
I
theater.
didn't
I've only been
either.
seeing it on the small screen. That would be a really interesting thing to see in the theater because it's one of those, yeah, the island really, that, well, the island is a prison here, and it's just sort of the opposite of what you think of as an island movie where everything is sort of bright and like a tropical paradise. It's just so, everything is so brooding. There's that sea and all the storms and everything. At some point, there's an escape from the prison, and he kind of goes out into the treacherous waters, and it's very visceral. You kind of feel that danger.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it's arduous because you're with him on this journey and you want to figure it out. And yeah, it's very dark, very twisty. You got Thelma Schoonmaker's editing, of course. Yeah, Robert Richardson. He also shot like Casino, I remember. He's shot movies for Oliver Stone and Tarantino as well. And so yeah, it's just beautiful looking too.
It is beautiful in a very dark way.
Yes.
Uh, and of course, this is absolutely my jam, is comparing the movie versions of things to the book versions. And I had seen the movie first, which is something I
Okay.
usually try not to do. But the last time I rewatched this movie, I also read the novel at the same time. And the novel is just beautiful, beautifully written.
Yeah.
And again, without giving too much away, I'm just a sucker for this kind of stuff. The ending of the novel and the ending of the movie are slightly different. They kind
Ooh.
of, the events are the same, but the movie adds a level of ambiguity to what happens that isn't in the book, which is unusual because
That's
usually I feel like
exciting.
usually it's the opposite way, and you don't really know. Again, I don't want to give too much away, but you don't really know in the movie exactly what the character believes,
Okay.
whether he is still believing
Yeah,
himself to be a
that's
certain
true.
person or
It's a
not.
little more ambiguous. Yeah.
And I just love that. I love different interpretations of the same material, and I thought this was a really really clever twist on the original material.
Yeah, that's always interesting to me. I remember for Lahane, and we should give a shout out, like Lahane also, Mystic River. That is the one. I remember reading the book and I was almost done. We always went to the movies on Halloween because, growing up, like with my back, I couldn't really, give the trick or treats out. And so became like a fun thing. Let's go to the movies. And so I remember I was finishing it so close to when it started. I finished it in the theater. That was not a good way to actually go. I love the movie, of course, but I do remember being disappointed because the Kevin Bacon character in the film is so much larger and there's more complexity and stuff in the book. I mean, that's kind of always the way. You and I both love Wonder Boys by Michael Chabon, but I
Mhm.
have to say the movie is actually better. So like
Oh,
sometimes, it goes either way. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that movie. I know we've talked about this before, but that is just, I just love how they rendered that on screen. Just amazing.
Yes. Well, we should probably alternate, go from a dark one to a lighter one. You also inspired me to rewatch Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which I had not seen since it was probably first released on DVD. I
Mm.
remember, or Blu-ray at the time. Jason Segel, hilarious, an
Oh my gosh.
exhibitionist for sure. Yeah, it's kind of one of those movies you watch and you feel like secondhand cringe for him. He is a composer on like almost like a Law and Order SVU, but campier television series. And he's dating the star who is Kristen Bell. And this was like she had finished Veronica Mars before they did the reboots and stuff. And so she was kind of making her big screen like, hey, and she is great. we get to see some of her comedic instincts take over. This was also around the time of Frozen, so like what a switch.
Mhm.
But yes, she comes home from work and announces that they need to break up, and he's naked, and it's like, can we be more humiliating? And she even like tries to encourage him to put on clothes, and at one point he says something like, if I put on pants, then it's over. And he won't, like, it was just too much. Yeah. So I thought that whole scene is excruciating in like a Heartbreak Kid kind of way. And then he decides to like take himself to this island that on Hawaii, this resort that she was always talking about. She just happens to be there with Sacha Baron Cohen. Oh no, wait, not Sasha.
It's Russell
Russell
Brand.
Brand. Thank you.
Hmm.
I'm like another weirdo. Yes.
Another weirdo.
Russell Brand doing Russell Brand kind of things, being as weird as you would imagine. He's basically like playing the same dude from Get Him to the Greek in this movie, and she's involved with him. And so they keep running into each other. The rooms are right next door. It's like it is so embarrassing. And then there's Mila Kunis, who is sweet, and she is a receptionist and feels pity for him and gets involved. So yeah, this one I had a blast rewatching, but yeah, I forgot a lot of that.
Yeah, I forgot how painful it was to watch sometimes. That first that the
Yes.
scene that you just described with him naked, that hits you right from the beginning, and oh man, it really sets the stage for the rest of the movie. And it's
Yeah.
just I think that movie's probably what, about 15, 20 years old.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it was like 2008-ish. Uh-huh.
okay, but at the time I don't think this was true, but since then it now looks like just a who's who of comedy. Like all the
Yeah.
folks that were just kind of getting started at that time, like even
Yeah.
Jason Segel kind of, I think, which is all these, it has oh my gosh, who plays his brother or his stepbrother? I'm blanking on
Oh,
his
yes. Bill Hader,
yes, Bill Hader,
brother-in-law. Yeah.
his brother-in-law. That's right, and Jonah Hill is in it, and it's just
Yes.
all these people who are absolutely hilarious, and it's just
Oh
a
God.
pleasure, kind of a
Paul
cringy
Rudd.
pleasure to watch all the way through.
Yeah, Paul Rudd is like the surf
Mhm.
instructor who's got a memory that lasts like 3 seconds. And like, no, we had that deep conversation. Oh, it's nice to meet you. Like, it's so funny. Yeah, to see them together. And you also kind of see a sneak preview of like Siegel wanting to make the Muppet movie, and he likes puppets. His character's making a Dracula musical. You could see the theater kid and the geek,
Mhm.
as he does these sort of things. And you also, it's like, it sort of feels like a continuation of his character on Freaks and Geeks, which I had never seen in its entirety until this
Oh,
spring. Then I just sat
okay.
down and watched it, and I was like, oh my God, how did I not see this? Yeah.
Yeah, I will watch him in anything. I feel like he's one of those actors who, in some way, always plays the same character, and I think part of it is just because it's tied to his very distinctive physicality.
Yes.
But I just will absolutely watch him in anything. I'm watching Shrinking right now, which is a great
I
show that
adore that
he.
show. Yeah. And no, we're not on the payroll of Apple TV Plus, but if you get that, definitely watch Shrinking. Yeah. I love
Mhm.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That one, what I like about it is, you think you're watching a comedy one week and then just this pathos comes in, and yeah, which is kind of what he's always done. He's kind of been drawn to, and we see that in Sarah Marshall. Yeah, it was written by Jason Segel, directed by Nicholas Stoller, and yeah, it's painful. It's funny. I think, oh, Jack McBrayer is in it. That character gets a little much. We also have like, little cameos, William Baldwin, Jason Bateman. Yeah, and, the puppets were from Jim Henson's Creature Shop. So yes, it does kind of lead right into the Muppets, which I really adored too.
Yeah, and I think I read somewhere that he actually the Dracula musical that he's working on is actually something that Jason Segel himself created in real life, or parts of it. I think
I
that's
could
so
see
funny.
that. Yeah. Because otherwise, like, how would you come up with that? Like, it seemed like a real passion project. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Too
Yeah.
bad we're never actually gonna see that in the theater. That would be fun.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay, and then we'll take another turn the other direction. King Kong, I had talked about recently. I did an episode on Spielberg where we talked about Jurassic Park. So this is another like, don't go to the island or, stuff happens. We're talking about the 2005 version. There's been several versions of King Kong. Of course, there's the classic one. Yes, which, is amazing. And there's been other renditions, but we're talking about the Peter Jackson. Like everything Peter Jackson has done, it's 3 hours. It's too long. And
Too
it
long.
goes so overboard. Yeah. I think the joke I read was, remember he made the Beatles documentary and it was like 8 or 10 hours and some of it is just them milling around and you're like, cut anything challenge. Can you cut anything? And Peter Jackson, master filmmaker, but yes, dude is definitely allergic to the editing room. And we see that. This one's tonally all over the place, but I do love the cast that is involved in this one. Jack Black, Naomi Watts. Yeah, I hadn't seen this since, it came out I think I didn't see it on the theater, but I saw it when it was brand new. Do you remember your experience with this one?
I believe I did actually see this one in the theater, if I remember correctly. I really, really love this movie, and this is kind of embarrassing, but I've never actually seen the original.
Okay.
So I just did a little research, and it sounds like it kind of follows the plot of the original, except of course now it's
Yeah.
actually it's set in that time period, and I just this is such a beautiful movie. I think despite all of I absolutely agree with you that it's too long. I feel like there could have been like two or three action sequences cut when the big bugs and the big spiders were crawling all over the
Yeah,
place.
that got too much. That was again, it's like the send help stuff where I'm looking through my fingers. Yes.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if there's constant tension, there's no tension. Like it's
That's a really excellent point. Yeah. From
but
a thriller writer, you guys take note. Yeah.
yeah, but all the other stuff that wasn't involved, the part that I found the most fascinating was sort of the part around the island. Like, I think it takes them like an hour to actually get to the island, and
It
it's the
really
stuff that's
does.
around it that I
Mhm.
find the most fascinating. And it sounds like that's the part that all the sort of character background, all of that is sort of what they added to this movie as opposed to from the original version. And I just love this movie because not only does it look beautiful, not obviously the island scenes are beautiful, but the city, there's just this glow to it. It always just looks so magical. And I feel like this movie is at its heart about art, about entertainment, about beauty. That's kind of, the other thing they kind of add to it is something that seems ridiculous when you talk about it, but like her relationship with Ape, like it's very, very sweet, I think, because
It
and
is.
the way they kind of bond is through entertainment. That's kind of how she reaches him. That's how she kind of recognizes her own humanity in him. That's how they bond. It's just a very, very sweet movie.
Yeah, and I think that came right from the original with Fay Ray. A few years ago, it was like early pandemic, I read a really great book, and it was before I had seen King Kong, the original, and it was called Fay Ray and Robert Riskin, a Hollywood memoir by Victoria Riskin, who was their daughter. And it was basically about both of their careers, and they finally got together only for it was like they weren't together too long before, unfortunately, he passed away. But it was he was a screenwriter for Frank Capra. So he was writing all of those great
Ah,
classic comedies. And then Fay Ray had her, movies like King Kong, which was always a favorite. And, Victoria talks about, feeling bad for the ape in King Kong, when she was little and her mom finally showed her the movie. And so I do recommend that if you're, if you love classic movies and you're listening, do seek out that book, because
okay.
it's just really good. She alternated chapters, almost like they do now with a lot of romance books, like He Said, She Said, where one is
Oh,
on Robert and one is on Faye because they were leading completely different lives for so long, but they were both equally fascinating. Yeah.
wow, that does sound
Yeah.
interesting. What did you say the title was?
It's
I'm sorry.
called Fay Ray and Robert Riskin, a Hollywood memoir by Victoria Riskin.
Okay, I will have to check that out. That sounds fascinating.
Yeah. And I think this also, it's interesting. This was, maybe it doesn't age quite as well or play as well on the small screen as it would have, I think, on that big screen or right away, because the CG, you can see them relying so heavily on the CG. And that, I agree with you. I think for me, the most fascinating part of that movie is the first hour, like the development of all of these characters. And yeah, I love that. I think that's, the most special part, because then when, you were saying like, there's nowhere to go when you're doing action after action sequence, it does kind of rely on sort of a video gamey, almost like, around, 2007, 8, there was a James Bond movie, Quantum of Solace, which was the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was kind of a weird time for CG. And do we rely too heavily? Are we going for practical? But I love the beginning. And I think that's how this movie sets itself apart from the other versions.
Absolutely. Yeah, the character, the acting, of course, Naomi Watts,
Yeah.
again, I would watch her and I think she's just so sweet and she has just such a gorgeous energy to her in this movie. This sort of like smart, funny kind of wonder to her. And I also feel like, if I remember correctly, I feel like Jack Black's character, which is so great in this movie, this was sort of one of
Yes.
his first appearances as as not so much the character that he himself kind of got typecast playing when he first got started, but
Yeah, that's
actually
a
a more
great point.
dramatic, yeah, like a more nuanced kind of. I mean, he still has some of that kind of wildness to him, but I feel like he really nails some of the serious impulses behind that character.
Yeah, there's some sinister, some elements of danger there. In addition to Naomi and Jack, we also have Adrian Brody, Colin Hanks, Jamie Bell, Andy Serkis. You can't make one of these movies without Andy Serkis, basically. It's kind of a law. Yeah, before Planet of the Apes, all of those. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
and then one I revisited that I hadn't seen. Again, I don't think I caught this one in the theater either, but this one to me still holds up. I was still moved by it. I cried buckets like two different times. You cry about a volleyball. We're talking about Castaway, which is, I think when it's at its best, it's like Tom Hanks doing a one-man show. It's incredible. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that I just rewatched that for this, and I just feel like that movie struck me this time rewatching it, how it's like an exercise in doing so much with so little, because
Yes.
there's obviously he's by himself on an island. There's not a whole lot
Yeah.
that there's no dialogue. Well, until Wilson comes into the picture, but they really it's just as there's just a real art to keeping a movie like that moving and keeping you interested, and I feel like it does it so well. It's just a joy to watch.
It does. I think we're so used to like the charm of Tom Hanks that you forget what he's capable of, just his reaction. You can see everything just play out. It reminded me of, the end of Captain Phillips when you see the actual trauma finally register of what he's gone through and he's like shaking and all of that stuff. I thought that's the same actor that we see when he's on this island, because the beginning of the movie, this might as well have been like Terminal or one of those performances, or just Tom Hanks in the 90s. He's smooth. Well, okay, not in Terminal, but it kind of is in the mode of a crowd pleasing. This is how FedEx works,
Mhm.
storyline. And then something happens. Helen Hunt is great in it. She really kind of pulls at your heartstring there at the end. Oh my God. It reminded me of the movie The Dead Zone, because basically it's a couple who's going to get married,
Mhm.
get engaged, and then stuff happens, years go by, and then can you pick up that relationship or not? Has she moved on? Does she have a family? What is going on? And so, yeah, I don't want to give out too many spoilers, but what happens there with Helen Hunt is very moving. And
Mhm.
this one I thought played just as well now as it did 26 years ago. Yeah.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have even, there's really nothing in it that you can pinpoint as tied to that particular period. It really holds up.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't feel very dated at all. Yeah, I think again, like all of these, it probably would have been far more impactful and powerful on the big screen, but my goodness, it still works just so well. It's hard to watch in places too for a different reason than some of these, not for like gore and bugs and dinosaurs and all of that, but yeah,
Mhm.
just for the emotional how wrought that it is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I really like that one. And then one I think that I made everybody watch, or it was one of my first suggestions. It's not a masterpiece, but I love it, is 6 Days, 7 Nights, which I find to be like kind of a lost screwball movie. It's just so fun. You forget how like sparkling and great at comedy Anne Heche was around this time period. She was doing some David Mamet and Wag the Dog. She's great in that too. But then you have Harrison Ford playing off her. And like the scene before they crash in their plane, where she's taking too many Xanax or Valium or whatever it was. And, oh my gosh, just the interplay between them is hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of those things that I had actually not seen it when it came out. This was my first time watching it, but I feel like I had always, having heard about this movie, been a little bit skeptical. Like I wasn't sure that that was going to be a match made in heaven necessarily, but it works. The
Yeah.
two of them are really fun to watch, and of course, I will watch Harrison Ford in anything. He's one of my absolutely top favorite actors of all time.
Yeah, and what I like about that one too is it's comedic. It's okay, it gets a little sitcom-y when we go back to the island with the David Schwimmer and that, their loved ones waiting for them who hook up and, that
Yeah.
gets a little lame. But when we go back to the island, but then there's like thrills. We have like Danny Trejo there's pirates. Which I like when he says pirates and she's like, pirates as an arg? Yeah. So it's a really fun one. And Ivan Reitman. Yeah, I would say if you guys have not seen this, we used to make, this is when we had like Touchstone Pictures, back then, making it was a parent company of like Disney was the parent company, but Touchstone was for adults. We had Touchstone and Hollywood Pictures, and they were telling stories like that, teenagers and adults could see, and they were smart and fun. And now we just don't really have that. We have the movies for kids and then yeah. So this was kind of what we were doing in the 90s, the high concept. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like you mentioned Touchstone, and I feel like if I'm going to tie in another island movie, sort of, wasn't Splash one of the first Touchstone movies that
Oh
came out?
yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that is a fun movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, one of my favorites. Like
Yeah.
again, Tom Hanks stuck on an island very
One of
briefly.
his Touchstone films, you bet. Yeah,
Yeah,
1984. Yes. And it ties in Tom Hanks. We are just connecting these dots. Yeah.
absolutely.
hmm Were there any others that you watched for this or you wanted to give a shout out to? I did suggest Swiss Family Robinson because I had like fond memories of it as a child, but I guess that one is extremely dated and doesn't play well today. But there are a lot of these over the years. There were of course like the Doris Day one where somebody she was on the island with comes back, like too many husbands essentially, and then that was a Cary Grant trope too, where like his wife comes back and the guy she was on the island and then he gets threatened by it. So there's been
Sure.
some really creative island movies, but what I like about our selection here is we show that this is a really wide subgenre or setting for movies.
Absolutely. You can pretty much put anything on an island and make it more interesting.
Yeah, because they can't run away. So it's
Exactly.
great for thrillers and for comedies, which kind of play like, you just need two people as well.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Uh,
Were there
um,
any that you watched in addition?
I think that was pretty much my entire list. I did give Swiss Family Robinson a try. I feel like, I kind of felt like this is a classic I should check out.
Yeah.
It does have that vibe about it of being a movie that would be great as a kid, like that you would absolutely love. It just has all
Yes.
of the, excitement and stuff like that. But it's a little bit tough to watch as an adult. I feel like I think I might have checked out when the Pirates arg came on the screen.
Those pirates, man. Yeah.
Yeah, they were kind of dated. I'm like, I don't know if I can stick with
know
this
about
much
this.
longer.
Yeah, I know. I haven't seen that, since I was a kid. Speaking of pirates, we got a lot of island movies involving pirates. So, yeah, I think this is a fun topic. I'm sure people are going to reply with some of their favorite ones. But, Lina, I want to thank you for coming onto this island with me, hanging out, talking about movies. And we're going to try this again. You can come up with a topic, any topic you like, because I kind of pushed it was a group topic at first, everybody into it, like, hey, let's do something for summer, but you come up with an idea and we will talk again. This was so much fun.
I would love to do that. Thank you. Yes, this was very fun, and thank you for including me in it.
Of course.
I also want to thank everyone for listening, especially my patrons who support the show and help fund my research, equipment, film rentals, RSS fees, and more for as little as $1 per month at the Film Intuition Patreon, which is the home base for the show. Other ways you can support the podcast are by sharing, reviewing, and subscribing to Watch with Jen wherever you get your podcasts, and also checking out the cool merch store hosted and created by our talented logo designer, Kate Gabrielle. You can find the merchandise store, including shirts, tote bags, stickers, and more by visiting filmintuition.com and clicking on the shop link. The show's theme music is solo acoustic guitar by Jason Shaw and is available in the free music archive. Well, until next time, please take care and happy movie watching. This is Jen Johans at filmintuition.com and Film Intuition on social media and Letterboxd. And this is Watch with Jen.